So we have more, you asked for it, I'll talk about it coming up today. Today we are talking about throwing a baitcaster. We're gonna talk about the buttons, we're gonna talk about how to throw it, we're gonna talk about throw it easily, we're gonna talk about how to do it successfully on your first day out. You don't have to spend months in the swimming pool or anything. First day out, you can use one of these. It's not as scary as it sounds. Hey, if you haven't followed Captain Caleb TV on Facebook, give them a follow, and we're gonna talk about bait casting reels. All right, here we are, coming sliding in sideways like I did last week. I'm gonna get back to the Wednesday, Thursday post, I promise. Time has not been on my side lately. Well, one of the questions that I've gotten a lot is, how do you throw a baitcaster without bird nesting? Now, a baitcaster it's a simple device that, you know, just like the corky lures, they can be overcomplicated. So when you're learning how to throw a baitcaster, this knob right here, that's the most important thing that you have on your reel. You've got the brakes over here, but what this is the tension knob. This spool, when you click this button in, it goes into completely free spool mode. It's going to spin as fast as you let it spin. This right here, there's a shaft that comes through, and as you twist this down, it presses on the end of that shaft to make it spin slower and slower. So when you first get the reel and you don't know how to throw a baitcaster, you can tighten it down all, you know, pretty good ways. So, and the way to tell if you have it tightened, you click it and this doesn't spin at all. But when you click it, you send it out, look, it didn't backlash and I got about 50 feet out of it. So this knob right here, that's the important thing for you to understand how to use when you're learning how to use a baitcaster. So I mean, I can even let it out a little bit more where it's starting to spin just a little bit. And again, when I cast it, I don't have to worry about it. It's gonna stop when the lure hits. I probably got, I don't know, 80, 90 feet out of that cast. Then as you're getting more used to the reel, what you're gonna do is you're gonna back off on this knob until whenever you click it, your lure pretty much free falls. Okay, so you turn this to the left, and when you click it, your spool is going to take off and free fall. So at that point, what you're doing is, while it's spinning, while your lure is in the air, you're taking your thumb and you're lightly touching it, and the friction from your thumb is throttling this. So the way I do it is my thumb's barely, I'm talking just barely touching it, but as I feel the line starting to get loose, I'll touch it just a little bit more to slow it down just a little bit so that this spool is spinning at the same speed that my lure is traveling. Another thing that's important when you're learning baitcasters, don't start with real light lures. It takes a while to learn how to throw a 16th ounce jig head on a plastic, but a topwater, a corky, some heavier spoons, anything with some weight to it is really going to help you figure it out. So this time I've got it loosened quite a bit, but this time my thumb is just barely touching it. It's barely touching it and it's letting it spin. So I probably got another 30 feet out of that just because I don't have as much tension on my spool. I'm keeping this one quick, guys. The wind's kind of coming and going, the weather's coming and going. So again, see if I can get it even closer for you here. Look, my thumb, it's just barely touching it, and then when the lure hits the water, I stop it. I touch it and stop it. That's where a lot of your backlashes come from, is the lure hits the water right before you stop it. So this thing keeps spinning and it lets the line get loose like that. Now another thing to know is whenever you have brand new braid on a reel, every one of us are going to mess up and backlash it from time to time. The brand new braid is stiff, it wants to jump out on you. Once you use it, get it broken in, get it soft, it's a lot easier to use. So one more time, I'm just throttling it with my thumb and touching it. Now, we go and throw these at night a lot. After you use it for a good amount of time, it becomes just kind of a sixth sense to you. Now, the common misconception I've heard, I heard it today, I've heard it multiple times, is this thing is factory set, don't mess with it. That is incorrect. I mess with it on every lure. The main rule that I have is whenever I click it, I want my lure to fall free, but without just flying down. I want there to be a little bit of tension, but I want it, whenever I click my reel in, I want my lure to fall, okay? Just want it to fall. Afterthought, do not be scared to wing that sucker. Whenever you have that spool tight, you're not gonna hurt yourself. Take that thing and give it what you got, especially you got on a heavy lure or something. If you try to throw it kind of light, then that tension is going to work against you. Just give it what it got. If you bird nest it, so what? You know, pick it out, start over again. But with that spool tight like that, whoo, send it. Now, the other thing you need to know about is brakes. Once you get the spool tension set how you want it, I usually leave that alone. Then if I'm casting into a situation where I need some more help from my reel, I'll reach down and crank my brakes down. Usually I set mine at about 2, but if I'm casting into the wind or something, I'll crank them up to 4 or 5, something like that. But that's that's pretty well it. That's how you learn how to use a baitcaster. If you don't use a baitcaster or don't have that weapon in your arsenal, I really suggest that you get that. To me, it's a more versatile reel than a spinner. I know my son Cade, he likes the baitcasters a lot more because they're smaller, they fit in his hand, they're easier to wade with. There's a whole slew of reasons that the baitcaster is just a better tool to have. Now I keep spinners in the boat and baitcasters, but this is 99% of what I fish with if I'm not throwing a popping cork. So that's it. That's simple. That's the basics. If you're trying to learn how to do it, tighten up your tension knob until your lure, look, it's not even moving right now. It's not even moving, but if I put some power behind it, I mean, I can cast it pretty darn far, but the reel stops it itself. And then when I want to learn how to go further and further and further, I'm going to loosen it up more and more. I'm going to teach my thumb, my brain, and everything to work together, and you know, keep that reel from backlashing. It's a scary reel to a lot of people, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty easy device to use. I think I learned how to use one when I was probably 10 or 12, and that was back in the day of the old Abu Garcia, you know, the Speeds Ambassador high speed. You know, it was a terrible reel to use. The reels they have today are great. If you can get the DC reels, do this for you digitally, but in my opinion, you really don't need the DC reel, because just tightening up that tension knob, you know, that's going to help you out a lot. You can still get quite a bit of distance out of it with a heavy lure. Once you get where you can throw a heavy lure over and over and over and over and no problem, then switch to your 1/8 ounce, your 16 ounce jig heads. The 1/4 ounce, that'd probably be an easier one to use drifting out of the boat. But you know, that's it. Start off with something heavy, tighten this thing up, send it out there. Whenever you get comfortable with that, loosen it up just a little bit. When you're comfortable with that, and then pretty soon you're going to be throwing free spool and slinging a topwater country mile. So anyhow, that's it. I've got a boat to clean up. We got quite a mess we made here today. We went red fishing, and red fishing was decent and wasn't as good as I expected it to be. There's flounder everywhere, but made a big mess. Got to get it cleaned up, ready for the customers tomorrow. Grab you a baitcaster. You have any problems, as many of you guys know, send me a message. I'll talk to you. Send me your phone number. I'll sit there and talk. I've talked to many of you guys for 30 minutes to an hour, whether we're just, you know, BSing and talking about our kids or whatever, you know, whatever question you have. So I'm more than happy to talk to every one of you. Like I said, this is a family, this is a community, this isn't my channel. You're not a number. You guys are helping support me. I want to support you right back. So that's it. Hey, half of y'all aren't subscribed. Hit the subscribe button, and we will catch you on the next one.